Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you are our amazing Patreon patrons. Thank you so much for joining us on the Patreon bonus stories.
You got it right. Yeah, and you know what? We don't talk enough about the mugs.
These mugs are so good looking.
Yeah.
I know that that's not a modest thing to say, but I didn't make them myself. We got
also, I mean, it took a Patreon of ours to help us find the company in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They're made here in the U.S., made in a green factory.
Yeah.
And they're fantastic. They handle dishwasher, like this has been through the dishwasher like
I don't
a
know if
dozen
you
times.
can tell how good these things look, but they look super good.
And they feel good.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But we
definitely-
only made 40 of them. And they're
Yes.
running out.
We're running out of
Running
them,
low. So yeah, if you want to join Patreon at one of the high perk levels there and support us, go for it.
Right.
And
Comes
you'll
with
get
all
one
the
of
other
those.
perks.
That's
Keep
right.
in mind.
Yeah, we
T-shirts, posters,
Yeah. Coasters.
live stream access. We try and make it as valuable as possible to be a patron, and part of it is this show. So let's get right into it.
Why would you do this, Jesse?
Hold on, I feel like I just really gotta share this with somebody. Technology crazy. I've been this for like 2 hours.
What? I didn't do that.
I know, that wasn't you. That was UFC fighter Kevin Lee, and he posted a video of himself there driving in Montreal as he plays his Nintendo Switch on the windscreen.
Yes.
I guess his mama got a little upset. He says, my mama cussed me out when I sent her this video on the way to Montreal, but if my insurance go up, I know it's because Instagram snitching.
Right. Or anyone else who could share the link.
Now,
Well, don't do this. Don't do this.
no,
It's
I
a
mean,
bad.
you're already chosen a weird line of work. I mean, UFC fighting is like very dangerous, and that's dangerous enough. Why do something more dangerous by getting in your car and playing a video game while you don't pay any attention to driving?
Right.
And I know you think like, oh, well, I'm still looking out the windshield, but you're not. You're paying attention
really.
to your video game.
It's-
So that split second where you are needed to pay attention to something,
Right.
you're not going to be there.
holding the controller. Yeah. Don't do this. Don't. That's a
And
bad
also,
thing.
even if you think, well, it's my life. No, it's not just your life.
Right.
You're driving a 5,000-pound vehicle, which could kill something,
Right.
kill somebody. I mean, it's just not responsible. And I think more than his insurance should go up, I think law enforcement should get involved. Like, you don't do what you're supposed to do in a motor vehicle, have your license taken away. Why are we so in the world afraid to take people's licenses away?
because then they become non-functioning members of society because we've basically made a
Okay,
system
well,
where you
I don't
need to
say you
drive
have
a
to take
car.
them. First of all, you don't have to take away.
That's a big question.
Sure, but-
I'm hike up my pants. I'm
Okay.
ready to talk about that one.
Okay, first part though is you don't have to, it's a privilege. It's not a right.
Of course.
Driving is a privilege. Second
Right.
of all, you don't have to take it away forever. I didn't mean like one offense and you never get your license back.
Okay, but
yes.
I have to say.
He just showed that he can't be trusted.
Okay, but when we came up with licenses for driving cars,
Yeah.
they were just like an oddity. It was like, oh, a motor car. Wow, you don't see many of those. I always ride my horse.
Right.
Let's write that law about motor cars. We'll take away their licenses. Right? They didn't think that like to get to anywhere to have a job that you would need a license. If you take away someone's license, now they suddenly can't work
Well, first
in
of all,
a traditional sense.
okay,
So that's like a problem.
slow down there, bucko.
Well, yeah, but
Wait,
but
I have a lot.
of course I'm with you.
Okay.
Let me finish the point. It's because we've now created a society where you must own a car.
You know that's not true though. That's my argument.
It's very close to true.
No.
Yes, it is.
No. You can Uber.
Sure.
You can take public transportation.
Sure.
You can have your mommy drive you. You can do all
Depends on
sorts
the
of
place.
things. I'm
It
just saying.
depends on where you
I don't
where you
care.
live.
If you show like this blatantly that you are
Sure.
going to put everyone's well-being in harm's way,
Yes.
then you should have your license taken
okay,
away.
but that wasn't the question that you asked.
I think that's the question I asked.
It was you said why don't we take more people's licenses away? And that's because it's like I completely.
so
I'm
you're
with
saying
you.
he can't be a UFC fighter anymore if we take his license away? I think he'll still find a way to
You're
get
right,
to his
you're
UFC
right.
fights.
Yes, I'm saying I'm a much more general argument than what you're.
And then
going
I think what'll happen is he'll think twice before he acts this way, and we'll all think twice because we'll be like, "Oh my gosh, Kevin Lee got his license taken away."
I
So
mean,
I'm not going to act like that.
You're talking about a guy who gets punched in the head for a living. I expect him to make the best decisions.
Right, but when he doesn't, and when he posts about it, and we now know who it was and where he was, law enforcement should get involved. We've got the proof.
Sure.
What's the difference between that and a police officer driving next to him on the road?
I don't know. I'm not arguing that he shouldn't have been doing that, and I'm not saying that if he got caught, he should have. I don't know. Look, it's just this weird thing where now you're right.
But what we're saying is basically your ability to drive a car is more important than killing people.
Not saying that.
I'm saying, but the reason why licenses aren't taken away more often is because that is the argument, basically.
Right. And it's problematic. And we've put ourselves in this problematic situation by making car ownership basically mandatory to live, unless you live in a dense city. It's really, I mean, if I were to, let's say I lost the ability to drive my car tomorrow.
Yeah.
You would be driving me to work every day.
Somebody would maybe, or you would. But what I'm saying is, for that period of time that you lost your license, you would have learned a lesson.
What do you mean period of time?
Well, let's say he had his license taken away for a year or two. Then
That's
for that
how
period
that works? I thought you'd lose it forever.
No. You can take it away for whatever period you want.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't say like forever,
I know.
unless he's a repeat offender.
Right.
It's a privilege.
I completely hear you. I'm just saying, live in a world where it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. It's not
pretty
like,
weird that we have.
It's a weird privilege.
It's one of the leading causes of death.
Completely.
There's over 1 million people killed every year.
I'm with you.
And
I understand.
That's why, because
it makes sense.
Why don't
I'm
we
just
have?
Saying it's a weird privilege. It's weird.
Why don't we have
to
this?
Rely on this?
Why don't we have police officers who like drive up alongside you, and if they see that you're tweeting, boom, you lose your license for a year.
Right.
The tweeting rate would go way down.
The texting. Right.
Yeah.
Here's how you solve it. Full self-driving, boom, problem solved. Tweet and play Twitch all you want, right?
Yep.
And he's so close. We're so close to that.
Yep. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is the chart of Netherlands deliveries, and I want to talk about what this is showing. So if we look at
Model 3 deliveries.
This is Model 3 deliveries, and if we look at the yellow line, that is from Q1 of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Orange is Q2. And red is Q3. So first of all, good news, right? We're seeing that the deliveries are going faster and faster and faster. Mm-hmm. But I'm not really happy with this chart. I'm going to tell you why. Most people are like, "Yay, Model 3 deliveries
going up!" Right.
I want you to look at the first. So each of these is a quarter long, right?
It's the whole. It's the whole
90
quarter.
days, 91 days of a quarter, right?
Yeah.
And so as you see for the first about 45 days of the quarter, the first half of the quarter, everything's going along at just a nice slow, here's some deliveries one day, deliveries the next day. And then what you see each quarter happens slightly different places, but each quarter something happens near the end of the quarter where it's like, oh my God, we have to deliver cars quickly.
Right. You see a weird S curve at the end of the quarter.
And I want you to grasp this for a second. If we look at quarter 3, which is the latest quarter,
the red one,
we got up to about 1,000 deliveries by day 49 or so, and then 3,000 more deliveries happened in
the next
next half.
Days. Right.
So you went from some manageable amount every day to a totally unmanageable amount. And I know what I'm talking about because I went to the Netherlands and I talked to the managers there, and they told me I had dinner with some Tesla folks, and they were like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
They brought in people from all over the place, volunteers, Tesla friends. They brought them all in, and they were just like, want a car? Here's a car.
And this is the problem with Tesla's end of quarter crazy pushes. It doesn't help. It's not a good thing. No. Doing it at the end of the quarter versus the middle or the beginning of the quarter doesn't matter. Why would you push it all at the end of the quarter? Here's what happens. Let me just look at the chart and just imagine your job for 2 months, right? Pretty boring. Not much is going on. And then for the last month is just like crazy wacko. You're doing 4 to 5 times as much work as you were for the first 2 months, and then goes back to nothing again.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Crazy.
Why?
And the thing is, when you deliver cars that fast, there's lots of unhappy customers because things go wrong. You can't get the details right. You don't have enough staff.
Right.
So,
come in today. We're going to deliver your car. And then it's like, oh, we aren't going to deliver your car today because it's not here, or because there was some mix-up, or we couldn't deliver them fast enough.
Or here's your car, but it has a problem, but we don't have time to even fix it or talk about it because get the hell out of here. Go, quick, go. We need the space.
So what they need to do would just take a look at this chart and then draw a line from day 0 all the way to the end of the quarter. That linear line, and it could be a little bumpy, right, should be what we're seeing. And then what you can do is you can plan for that. You can say, this is the amount of volume that we anticipate to get. And obviously there'd be some growth there from quarter 1 through to 3, right? Because the end of the quarter, we're not even there yet, and it already looks pretty crazy.
Yep.
But you draw a line, and it's going to be so much more manageable every day.
Right.
So how do you do that? You just get rid of the end of quarter special deal deliveries, right? Because there is a day after the next quarter and then a day after that.
Yeah, and Tesla controls this. Tesla can control what day they deliver the car. So just figure out that line and then hire the staff and the locations that you need to make that happen.
Right.
And then you're all set. And then everything is smooth because after you've done this for a few days, you'll be like, oh, okay, we're in a nice routine.
Get in a rhythm, get in a groove.
But now there's no routine. Every 3 months it goes crazy and then it goes back to this.
To
and
nothing,
so
right.
no one can get into a routine.
Exactly.
It's so dumb.
So dumb.
Anyway, if you're watching some Tesla VP
Executive.
executive,
Doesn't even matter if you don't even deal with deliveries. Just casually mention, drop the chart and be like, hey, this
Great idea.
Hey, this looks like we could fix this.
Yeah.
We're a smart company.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk
about this.
This wonderful sideshow.
Yeah. So if you don't know what we're talking about here, this is in Nürburgring. This is where, the Taycan, the Porsche
Hey, you
Taycan.
said it right the first time.
I had to think about it.
Nice.
Was, set its record, and then the Plaid Model S went to set its record, but everyone went so nuts when this picture appeared. So that's a Porsche Taycan passing a Model S, which is broken down on the side of the racetrack.
Right. Now, Tesla Q, which are the Tesla shorts, they just went crazy over this because they have had absolutely nothing to talk about for over a month.
Yeah.
And they are
Desperate.
just super desperate, super unhappy. And so they are grasping at straws, and this is one of the straws.
Yep. Well, I want to read the tweet here.
Great.
Dear real car enthusiasts of all stripes, you've just had your realization. Understandably, you don't quite believe what happened. How can he flat out lie and cheat like that? Don't worry, you aren't alone. Welcome to Tesla Shorts. So
First
I guess
of all,
he's talking about Elon lying.
I guess he never went to a school that taught him grammar. I know that
Also-
it's Twitter, but
also
please.
Also, that never taught them that tires can pop or things can go wrong on racetracks.
This racetrack. I don't know if anyone has ever driven Nürburgring on like a simulator or like in a video game. It's a really long racetrack. Most racetracks are like 2 miles long. This one's like, I don't know, it's like 7 or 9 miles.
Yeah.
And it's wacko. It's crazy. They got some
hills.
crazy turns in there, some banked turns. The curbs on it, and I'm getting really deep into racing stuff. Basically, the red and white stripe things on the inside of the curb. It's the curb. Really high, really highly angled.
Yeah, a lot of them not meant to really run over.
Right. And when you're racing and you're going very fast, you want to be on the inside line and stuff like that. So there is a huge potential that you're going to damage the car, because if you run up on some of those curbs, some of them are really high. And obviously, if you have a race car, you want to be very low to the ground. So there's many reasons that this Tesla could have been taken off the track. Running over the curbs could certainly be one of them.
Also, it's a prototype. It wasn't in a race. They were just testing it.
Right.
And that's what you do on a test racetrack is you test it. So we don't know what happened. It could be something small. It could be something big.
Right.
But it wasn't like
It's
this is
not
the
out of
final production car.
And it's not out of the ordinary.
Right.
The cars break down on this track all the time.
Right.
And
we
it's-
don't know what the reason was.
Right. And, so you just have this picture of the Porsche passing the broken down Model S, and it's like,
Desperate.
right. What if we saw it the other way? Would I really be sitting here and be like, oh my gosh, let me say a bunch of words that don't make any sense when you put them in a sentence together?
Yeah, and what's this next tweet? I
Yeah.
mean, let NASA know that it will need a lot more than a flatbed truck once SpaceX starts launching astronauts into space. What?
Cool.
What? Like,
Very deep.
it's just grasping at straws.
Oh my god, it's embarrassing, is what it is.
Yeah.
And it just blew up all over the news. It's really sad when.
Well, because there was nothing else for
Right.
them this week, so they had to focus on this, which shows you how it wasn't even a worthwhile story to focus on.
especially when the Model S trounced.
Yeah.
Trounced the Taycan.
I think they were hoping that what would happen is the Model S would go and not finish the race,
Right.
and then this would have been a little bit more of a story.
Right, but Tesla brought 6 Model S's.
Yeah.
So this is just one of 6 race cars out on the track.
And this
that
shows you how Elon understood the trap he was setting. He knew that he had to get one of the cars to do well. So he brought 6. There was
Right.
no question one of them was
And
going to
just
do well.
Probably for that lap, it was like, push it.
Right.
You know, as a race car driver, you'd be like, okay, we're going to push it.
Right. We're gonna break
break the car.
Right. Overheated it.
Yeah. All right. So for this next story, I want to talk about the Fridays for Climate school climate strikes.
Yeah.
They have been wildly successful in Europe, in Germany, in Sweden, all over Scandinavia, and all of Europe, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking over 1 million people
Right.
in Germany.
And we're talking weekly strikes.
Right.
With
For 40 weeks.
with children,
Right.
right. That are not going to school because they're striking.
Right.
And they've been doing a fantastic job. In the United States, it's been lackluster.
Right. Very
in
sporadic.
comparison.
Right, yeah. And even big cities like Boston, on Friday, it had about 7,000 people show up, which
Right.
is pretty tiny for such a big city.
And this was the scheduled one-time event. And this is kind of the crux of the problem for me, is that in the United States, I don't know what it is about the United States, but basically a lot of places only doing a one-time strike, not weekly. It should be, the whole point of this is that you have a strike every week, that it's a disruption, that it's like a problem, that it's something that you need to fix. And the only way to fix it isn't to, you can either try and crack down on school children, which is not a good look, or you have to go with their demands. This is how protesting works. This is how you get things to change. And climate striking is, I would argue, an excellent strategy. But in the U.S., for whatever reason, it hasn't been working. It hasn't been implemented properly.
Right. Well, because they brought the fight to the belly of the beast here. They brought it to, the control center for the media, which is right here. So it's going to have a tough play here.
Right. I mean, I don't know if everyone remembers Occupy Wall Street. I was a little too young to fully grasp the concept of Occupy Wall Street. But it basically fizzled and failed at that point.
Right.
And it was bigger than this. It was bigger than the school strikes for climate change protests.
Well,
to
I don't.
a certain extent.
I mean, in
it was,
terms of numbers, no.
in terms of long-termness,
Right.
it was. People were camping out
Yep.
basically there.
Yep.
In protest.
They got the media there to turn on them too. They got the media to make them seem like a bunch of bums that were going to just make your city uninhabitable and blah blah blah. Like they got the media to turn on them. If you remember the beginning of it, it was much more like grassroots, like what's going on, and then the word got spread to the media outlets, like okay, let's come up with our little plan of action.
And so I don't know what has hampered the school strikes. The
media.
I think it has.
It's the media.
Yeah. They haven't covered anything that's been happening in Europe about them.
They don't even get her name right. Like Greta Thunberg, when she was, talking to a senator, I mean, he called her, Greta Thunberry or something. Like he just purposely was just disrespectful to her and to the whole movement. It basically like, you guys are a bunch of kids. Well, you can't vote.
Right.
And they can't.
Right. And by the time the kids can vote, they're going to be dead or out of office. And it's really frightening. It's really upsetting that we live in a world where you have 4 million people protesting and we continue on business as usual. And it's just scary.
What do you have a democracy for if you're not going to use it sometimes?
Right. The whole point is it's for the people, by the people, and it's really not by the people anymore.
No.
Can we be honest
Yeah.
here? I mean, when was the last time you knew someone who had been elected to Congress or to a much higher office, right? I don't know.
And even when you do,
Right.
go meet them a year or two after that.
Right.
They are different.
Right.
They are different because they might have gotten in kind of like, I'm going to try and change things. But then it's all just about raising money for the next election.
Right.
Because if you don't raise enough money, you'll get voted out.
And there was this, CGP Grey had a really good series on, I think it was Rules for Dictators. And it basically talked about power. And it was based on a book, and it was this is like third-rate information that I'm giving you. But basically, go check out CGP Grey's video. But basically, you have to, if you're a dictator, you have to maintain power, and basically, you can kind of do that through, through a democratic system. Of
course.
You just sort of corrupt it, and it's been corrupted, and I don't know why I'm like this is the only place you're going to hear about it. It's just like, it's just so weird that, I guess weird is the wrong word, terrifying that we have a system that is so broken, so blatantly broken, and yet we're all, I guess because we're all not starving to death, we're not going to do anything about it.
Oh yeah, because we've got plenty of entertainment and things to keep our mind off it.
Right.
And the only reason why I think this issue has some bite is because it actually has to do with our planet and whether we're going to have a home.
It takes a little imagination.
Right.
It
And
takes
science.
a little bit of understanding and forward thinking and future planning, which is not a strong suit for humankind. I don't know if that is an intrinsic thing or if that was just something that gets beaten out of us in school. I think it is.
Yeah. Well, it's never been a strong point because humans have usually had to focus on where our next meal is going to come from. I mean, throughout the millennium, right?
Or
And it's
just winter,
And it's
right?
only been the last, couple hundred years where we didn't have to do that. So it's a new thing for humans to think about things beyond, tomorrow.
And we used to not have any effect on the climate, right? It used to be, there's only like a couple million people on the whole planet, maybe 500 million people. It didn't really make much of a difference. Now there's 7 billion people and counting. It's just boom, 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 right? And so our impact is extraordinarily larger. And it's just like...
No, so I mean, I think Jesse and I are just torn here because we went to the climate strike march on Friday, and it was great to see kids marching. But it seemed like it was a light version. It seemed, at least where we were, it seemed like, they left school, went to the field, and then went back to school.
They went back to school.
Right.
That's not a strike.
Right.
That's not a school strike. That's
Right.
that's like a pep rally. I mean, I've had assemblies that lasted longer than that, where we were talking about, drugs are bad. And,
Well, and if
all
your
that
sport
stuff.
team wins, that's exactly what you do. You go out in the field and say,
have a
hooray,
pep
you
rally.
win, and
Right.
then you go back in. So, I mean, yeah, it was a pep rally, and, a bunch of politicians came there, and they kind of, like, just glommed onto the thing, like, you guys are
We're
great.
here. We support you. It's not like I am going to support you with Bill SB 4720, and we're gonna.
That's the thing. We're asking 14-year-olds to understand how government works, and that's too much to ask because they've never been taught it. Like if as an adult, if I was running that event, I would have had like a proposed bill that I would have handed to the congressman who was there, and it would have said like, okay, we want you to bring this to Congress.
They did have a petition that they were doing, but it was very just Lexington. It was just that town.
Right.
And
Well, and that's the other sad part.
Yeah.
We had to hunt around to find a
one that was happening near us.
Right. I mean, there was Boston, there was Cambridge, and there was, a couple other towns in the eastern part of Massachusetts, which is a very liberal state. But yeah, there just wasn't a lot. And then if you go to Boston, it only had like 7,000 people. So
Right. And so I think that it's this weird thing where we overvalue education. The whole point, again, of the climate strikes is that your education is going to be worthless if you're eating beans from cans and living under an overpass because the whole society is collapsed, right? Which if climate change just sort of rolls on as it's going to do, I don't see how society is going to weather it.
Right.
It's not the kind of thing where it's just like, oh, that was a really bad hurricane. It's like, that was a really bad hurricane, and there's another one coming.
Right.
And Miami's underwater, so all those people have to move. Also, global trade's being disrupted. Also, there's refugees from all these other countries. Also, it's too hot to live in certain places now. Where is our food coming from? All of this all happening at the same time. It's just like... Oh, and so we're just going to be okay?
It's a similar approach that we're seeing with the car companies. They're like, oh, yeah, no, we know that electric is coming or that, climate change is coming, but let's just do it as slowly as possible.
And I have to be honest, we're all pretty guilty of this because, honestly, we put that poll out there on Patreon and pretty disappointing numbers for the amount of people who climate striked on the day that we were all supposed to climate strike, the one day.
I mean, everyone acted like, a lot of people on the poll acted like they didn't think about it till that morning, first of all. And secondly, they acted like...
Which is a problem with it not being weekly.
Right.
And the other problem is like, oh, I have to work for a living. It's like, yes. And how are you going to work for a living when the world is over?
Right.
You're going to have a job working, doing what? Doing what exactly when it's Mad Max outside?
Right.
I guess not outside, everywhere.
Right.
It's, I don't know. Have we become desensitized to
Yes.
dystopian novels and
Yes,
futures?
we have.
That we're just like, oh, that would be kind of cool.
I think people do think it would be kind of cool. If you look at like zombie shows, which are so popular, I think a lot of people are like, that'd be kind of cool.
Right.
I could hang out in Walmart and take a few of them out. Yeah, no, I think that people don't think about what it's going to look like.
Well, and to that point, there's no real fun alternative to your life. It's just going to a job.
Right.
If we're gonna get crazy about this, if there's no, what are your goals in life? What are you trying to accomplish?
Right.
You know, what do you have to look forward to? What do we all have to look forward to? And right now,
Well, I just point to this was supposedly a one-time event. Like this wasn't even. We're not even talking about the 27th yet, right?
Right.
So if you were sick that day, would you go to work?
right.
Like no, I assume not, right?
Right.
So there are ways not to go to work,
Right.
And I just
It's disappointing. I'm not saying that I'm disappointed in you. It's just that like I don't think that we've been taught civil disobedience.
No.
Obviously they don't want to teach it in school. But like we need to learn it. That's how this country was founded.
Exactly.
And that's how many modern democracies were founded. They weren't just like, again, the rules didn't just change one day. They weren't just like, oh, but of course we will abdicate the monarchy, right? No, we had to fight for it.
Yeah.
And now we're in an age where it's just like, holy crap! There's
Well,
no kings anymore.
I wanted to be excited about it. Before the
I
20th,
really
I wanted
was.
to be excited about
Yes.
it, and then I just, and it was great to see that it was the biggest climate change rally ever. But at the same time, I'm like, was it big enough to spark this domino effect that we need to have happen on the 27th and the week after?
One of the things that I thought was very telling when we were at the climate rally, we were walking to the rally, and we're all walking along. We're going to cross the street, and we're all crossing the street. There's a ton of us. There's hundreds of us. We're crossing the street. This car wanted to take a right, and some people wanted to stop and let the car go. I understand why you'd want to do that, but I don't think that they were in the right mindset of we are protesting. This is,
Well, did you notice the adults, because the adults went to meet the kids, the adults didn't chant anything. The adults
it
didn't
was
do
the
any-
most silent walk
Yeah.
we ever had. And I
And-
was like, shouldn't someone have a megaphone?
And it was
shouldn't
the
we
kids
be screaming things? Yes.
that started to do some chants.
As soon as they came outside.
Right.
Now, obviously, they just got let out of school, and so
But-
you're going to be excited.
But what I'm saying is this whole thing is going to have to be led by kids, because our generation, my generation at least, has let everyone down. Like we don't have it in us. Like that ship has sailed.
I'm
I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never wanted to buy a megaphone more than
Yeah.
when I was at that event, because I just wanted to start screaming, and I don't know, it was so polite. I guess it's
Yeah.
because we're very liberal in this state, and so we're not yelling at anybody.
Right.
We're all friends here, kind of thing. And it should just be, everyone was writing like, I'm doing this for the future. We all had posters, and I wrote on the back, I just wrote kill Cole. No one was mad. No one was angry. We were all just like, it's a good thing. Like, there's not enough anger there. And I don't know. There needs to be a little bit more edge to this sword.
Yeah.
A little bit more scary. Like I think that people shouldn't be like, oh, the people are in the streets with the protesting sign. They should be like, oh, the people are in the streets.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're the ones in power. Ugh.
Right.
It should be like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be worried.
Yeah.
And I think that they damn well should be.
I don't know if they are, but yeah.
And we need to make them.
Yeah.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is kind of a weird Patreon bonus story. Sorry if this was your first one. Go back and watch the last one. I promise it was less weird than this one.
All right. Well, let's get back to the main story.
We're gonna get back to the show because we have a show to finish.
All right.
Thank
See
you
you back
so.
there.
But thank you. Hey, thank you so much for supporting us. We can't do this show without you.
Nope. Thank you, guys.